Welcome to the initial assessment training. Today we'll be providing you with information on how to conduct an initial assessment with program participants. This presentation will provide commonly used terms, different types of assessments, who must be assessed, what is being assessed, and when and why assessment should be conducted. Let's get started with some commonly used terms in today's session. Initial assessment, an organized way to evaluate an individual's ability prior to engagement. The individual responsibility plan, a plan that outlines the participant's strategies to pursue and accomplish their goals. Mandatory participant, an individual that is required to participate in the welfare transition program. Program engagement, activities that a participant is engaged in that will help them move from welfare to work. Here are a few more terms that will be beneficial to you. Skills. Skills is the ability to use one's knowledge effectively and readily in the execution of performance. Work history. Record of skills obtained through performing. Employability. Being ready for hire and engagement into employability activities. Barriers. Anything that hinders or obstructs the progress. The state has set rules that apply when working with individuals that are referred and mandatory to the program. There are various assessments that can be utilized, but for our customer base, the regulations require the OSST assessment, which covers skills, barriers, work history, employability, and goals. The state also requires that the initial assessment be conducted within 30 days of the individual becoming eligible for assistance. Who must be assessed? At a minimum, the federal regulations state that TANF recipients who are at least 18 years of age, have not completed high school or equivalent, and not attending secondary school be assessed. However, locally, we assess all of our participants that are referred and engaged in the program. By doing so, it will hopefully help jumpstart the process in helping those wanting to become gainfully employed and self-sufficient. During the initial assessment, it is important to discuss with the customer their skills and barriers, work history, employability, as well as any needs the customer might have so that services, if available, can be provided. Many times the customer may not be forthcoming with information, and assessments may have to be reviewed during each appointment or monthly meeting. State and federal regulations require that the initial assessment occur within 30 days of a customer becoming eligible for assistance, and mandatory but no longer than 30 days after the receipt of the alert from the Florida system. In most cases, the initial assessment is conducted during the automated work registration process and is reviewed with the participant during the initial appointment. If for any reason the OSST assessment is not fully completed or out of the time standards, then the career specialist will need to complete the assessment again with the participant and review for completeness. Once reviewed, both the career specialist and the participant will sign and date a printed copy, and the copy will be retained in the case record as part of the permanent file. The initial assessment should begin prior to educational program referrals, work engagement, and also employer referrals. By reviewing these areas first, you will be able to assist the customer to help expose barriers and ensure career interests are aligned with goals and activities. The purpose of the assessments is to assess the customer's employability, work history, and skills. Also, identify issues that may interfere with success. To engage the participant in the appropriate activities and also develop the individual responsibility plan. There are various types of assessment tools and categories that can be focused. Formal and informal assessments. There are also assessments that can help identify employability, interest, work readiness, special needs, or hidden disabilities, barriers, aptitude, and also personality. Let's take a look at them individually. Informal assessments usually occur during face-to-face interviews and can be structured or unstructured interviews. Structured interviews pose similar questions to every customer and are consistent for all customers. This type of interview allows for comparison of customers' responses. Unstructured interviews focus more on each individual customer and their situation. For example, tell about the best or the worst job or a previous job you've held. Both types of interviews are beneficial in gathering information about the customer. Online assessments can also be found in Employ Florida, like Career Explorer and the Florida Skills Assessments, that focus on developing what interests the participant has when coming to look for work. Some assessments are rather simple and can be completed rather quickly, but there are some that will require a multi-step process or several hours to complete. Even though they can be taken in several parts and broken up into segments, once the assessments are completed in Employ Florida, staff are able to view the results in order to help the participant build a roadmap to self-sufficiency. Other assessments, such as WorkKeys, can also identify job skills and create a high-performance workforce for hiring, training, developing, and retaining employees. These types of assessments are very valuable to employers as well. Employability assessments assess employees and can be utilized as pre-employment tests to improve hiring accuracy, and is also a good tool for career specialists to utilize when assisting job seekers and participants. These types of assessments can actually help identify emotional maturity, trustworthiness, long-term job commitment, and safety aspects in some jobs. The job seeker should be assessed prior to seeking employment to help determine a path and what's right for them. Those assessments can be conducted online or face-to-face and then reviewed and discussed to determine how much guidance is needed throughout the process. Some assessment tools used can be developed by local workforce office staff and can focus on stress, mental health, substance abuse, and domestic violence. This sometimes helps offer resource and referral and assess special needs and barriers with the customer. Assessing aptitude most often refers to formal assessments or standardized tests such as TABE, which is a test of adult basic education. It covers reading, math, language, and measures skills up to 12th grade level. It may also predict how well a customer will perform on the GED high school exam, or if remedial courses may be required prior to the GED testing. When identifying barriers to work through assessment testing, staff should always search out possible resources to help relieve some of the barriers that may be present. For example, if a job seeker is losing their job because of lack of child care, then the career specialist should make every attempt to refer the individual over to the Early Learning Coalition through resource and referral. The more resources the job seeker has, the more stability will be created, and a support team is created to help move the individual towards self-sufficiency. Some barriers to employment sometimes revolve around special needs like visual impairments and learning disabilities. Workforce typically offers accommodations with an attempt to alleviate or lessen the barrier. Some of the accommodations that is provided in the centers are special lighting, large print books, enhanced computer screens, and voice to text. Tutoring services may also be offered to customers, and staff may even read assessment questions and answers to the customer. Sometimes referrals have to be given to outside agencies to come in and offer the assistance and the job seeker services. Let's take a look at assessing work history and some of the key elements that may help identify some of the skills that the customer may have to help lead to employment. What skills has the customer obtained over the course of the time, and some of the key elements that should be looked at? What is the average length of past employment? How many jobs have been held? And what are the reasons for leaving those jobs? In some cases, the career specialist or staff may have to dig a little deeper by having open discussions with the customer, as it may be difficult for the customer to have the answers to the questions. When looking at work history, both unsubsidized employment and subsidized employment should be considered. Unsubsidized employment is any job that is not subsidized through state and federal funds. For an example, teacher, cashier, cab driver, customer service representative, and even self-employment. Subsidized employment could be work-study, the Florida Back to Work program, or any other subsidized job by the federal government. Sometimes career specialists have to look at the bigger picture when reviewing work history, because maybe the job seeker does not have previous employment or little employment history due to age or lack of work. This means other sources of work history should be researched and considered. Sometimes job seekers may have been enrolled in mandated activities like community service, volunteering, mentoring, or even prison and jail assignments. Community service and volunteering can play a big role in helping someone gain employment, as it shows a sense of commitment that is usually voluntary, maybe through the civic organization or a church. Many employers encourage ongoing volunteering even after the job is secured. Also, many individuals are given chances and opportunities while incarcerated to gain skills that will be helpful upon their release. When considering work history and the length of employment the job seeker has is often looked at when being considered for a job. Employers may ask questions like, what shift was worked? How many hours per week were worked? How long did the job seeker stay employed? And what were the reasons for leaving? Sometimes there are little resources in a specific area and the individuals have to abandon their employment, or lack of childcare or transportation may be the issue. By conducting the right assessment and asking the questions may help the career specialist provide the resources needed to reduce the barriers and hardships. Customers may not be able to tell the difference between a task and a skill. Let's take a look at these for a better understanding. Tasks are actions being performed, sometimes known as activities, to get the job done. Skills are overall job and family knowledge gained from tasks performed, sometimes referred to as behaviors, and what is needed and how to perform those behaviors. Someone's ability to do something takes great performance. Here are some skills that may be considered. For example, cooking is a skill because you've practiced and learned that skill. The task that goes along with the cooking would be going shopping for groceries. It's something you do. Transferable skills. A transferable skill is an ability or expertise which may be used in a variety of roles or occupations. Examples include communication, problem solving, and self-control. Skills that the customer has gained that can transfer between jobs. The skills that can be taken and listed on a resume. By listing transferable skills on a resume, the job seeker is allowing the employer to see their portable skills in a quick glance. It is important for you as a staff member to assist and help develop the listing of transferable skills with your job seekers. When career specialists and staff members work with job seekers, one of the first questions should be, can the customer apply for a job and start today? A quick employability assessment will help answer that question for most job seekers and quickly tell a staff member if the individual has the capability of gaining initial employment, maintaining employment, and obtaining new employment if required. When assessing someone's employability, it is helpful to learn more about the job seeker and understand the barriers that the customer may be facing. How severe are the person's barriers? How long will it take the job seeker to resolve those barriers? And what agencies or steps may be needed to assist the individual in resolving those barriers? Many times, a referral can be issued to a local agency for additional support and to help in resolving the barriers. Let's look at an example now. Courtney's required to wear business attire if hired on her new job. She has always admired how professional the workers at her local One Stop dress, but she doesn't have any clothes like that in her closet. Courtney would like to dress professionally, but could never afford a $200 suit. What can you offer her? Can she start work today? The answer is yes. We can offer her referral or access to a clothes closet or local agency that can offer assistance so that Courtney can start her new job today. Here's another example. Caleb is very well known down at the county jail. But last year, after doing 3 years in prison for identity theft, he decided that he was going to clean up his act. He wants to be an example to his son and show him that he can live life free of crime. The only problem he faces now is his extensive criminal record. Can he start work today? Maybe. The barrier resolution for this situation would be to help Caleb expunge the record, receive federal bonding assistance, and possibly clemency and pardon. When working with job seekers, the career specialist or staff members should take into consideration as to the organizational fit. Some things to consider is personality, work ethic, and overall image. If the job seeker lacks any of the attributes, then staff should work closely with the job seeker to help them gain the knowledge and values they are lacking. When helping the job seeker develop an organizational fit, some opportunities may offer a great way to gain skills and attributes. Might be to get them referred to a business for work experience, or maybe an intern opportunity that will allow them to establish and maintain healthy business relationships. Sometimes the customer doesn't fit into the organization, or the customer assessments may be inaccurate or provide a false tense because of how the assessment questions have been answered by the job seeker. When the match is not healthy, it sometimes leaves the employer feeling discouraged and may not want future job seekers for placements or internships. When working with the job seeker, a pre-screening is always beneficial and helpful for placement purposes. Every attempt should be made to ease the frustrations of the job seeker and encourage productivity for a win-win situation for both the job seeker and the employer. Several things to be considered when assisting a job seeker to prepare for employment opportunities. How does the customer approach the world through introversion or extroversion? How does the job seeker approach the world? When an individual is introverted, the need for quiet time alone away from activity can assist in recharging and expresses knowledge and influence. Being extroverted sometimes decreases motivation, but allows for frequent interaction and recharge through spending time with others. Both introverts and extroverts are both valuable within a company and should be finely balanced. When it comes to work ethic, a set of values based on hard work and diligence will definitely put you at the top of the list. Like others that may exhibit poor work behavior with poor work ethic, job seekers sometimes need help in identifying any deficiencies that they may have before they can take corrective actions to improve upon their work ethic and gain added skills to secure the desired job. Our participants should be prepared and ready from the beginning by ensuring each is dressed for success and has the proper business attire for the job, whether it's a suit in a preferred business color like black, navy, gray, or brown, or depending upon the job, the interview may not require full business attire, but may allow for business casual or a specified uniform that is neat, clean, and wrinkle-free. It's always important to review with the job seekers to ensure they understand dressing their best is always a must. Assessments are usually ongoing, and sometimes goals and interests as well as situations change. Life sometimes happens, and many things can change through a course of time. Life-changing events should always be considered, as sometimes they impact what goals and desires the job seeker may have had previously. For those of you who work in OSST, the initial assessment must be completed in the system at least 30 days after the case becomes mandatory in the program. If the participant completes the assessment prior to becoming mandatory in the program, the assessment should be reviewed and signed by both the participant and the staff member. The OSST assessment should also be retained in the case file for future reference for the state monitoring purposes. You can access the assessment by clicking on Plan Development, and then under the Initial Assessment Evaluation, click Begin Assessment. The assessment must be completed fully and with all sections answered. Once the assessment is completed in OSST, the staff member can review the assessment for completeness and validate answers by viewing the assessment online or by printing it out ahead of time for review and signature with the participant present. The assessment covers not only the needs and barriers section, but also education, skills questions, goals, interests, and work history. Again, all sections should be completed and answered by the individual. The assessment can also be completed additional times should the participant's situation change. Remember, the assessment will help create a plan and course of action with the individual, so encouraging the participant to answer the questions truthfully will help ensure the most accurate answers that will lead to a plan that will most benefit the participant and hopefully lead them to self-sufficiency. This concludes our session of the initial assessment presentation. We hope that you have found added knowledge about assessing job seekers and customers to help prepare them for gainful employment. If you have any further questions, please feel free to review our SOP or contact the Welfare Transition Team. This presentation was created and voiced by Cheryl Goebel, and background music by Marcus at Royalty Free Music. Thank you and enjoy your day.